Okay, welcome everyone. I hope you can see this okay. My name is Sarah Kane, and you are at the Supporting Clean Energy, Electric Vehicles, and Solar Energy presentation. If you haven't already, please try to type your name into the chat. I'd like to see where everyone is from. I see we have a couple people from the local area, one from New York. And if you wouldn't mind, if you do have questions, you can type them into the chat, and I will take questions at the end of the presentation. And it looks like we have a small group, but a lot more people have signed up. So hopefully a couple more people will join us. And we have another person from Venice. Great. I'm going to try to let people in as they're coming in here. All right, well, we'll go ahead and get started. Again, this is the Supporting Clean Energy, a lunch and learn for electric vehicles and solar energy. My name is Sarah Kane, and I'm the Sustainability and Resilience Manager for Sarasota County. If you cannot hear me or you can't see the slides, just go ahead and unmute and let me know, or type in the chat. Again, there's going to be plenty of time for Q&A at the end. So welcome, everyone. Looks like we do have a couple local people here today, and we are going to just give a little bit of an overview of my office here. And for those of you that are in Sarasota, you probably heard of the IFAS Extension Office, and IFAS stands for the Institute of Food and Agricultural Sciences. And there is a extension office in every single county in the state of Florida. There's also extension offices throughout the United States at different universities, through land-grant universities. And we are located at Twin Lakes Park off of Clark Road, just east of 75. And we are a partnership between Sarasota County, the University of Florida, and the USDA. And we use university research and resources to address our local needs that we have in our community. And we have 6 different core areas: agriculture, sustainability, community gardens, horticulture, natural resources, marine and coastal resources, waste reduction, water resources, family nutrition program, and 4-H is one that you might be familiar with, our youth education program. Today, we're going to talk a little bit about both electric vehicles and solar and batteries. I'm going to give you a lot of resources that you can reference later on. And my colleague, Aaliyah Garrett, you should have received an email from her today if you registered on our Eventbrite page. And she will also be sending out a PDF copy of this presentation tomorrow. So don't worry about jotting down a lot of notes. You will get a copy of this presentation. If for some reason you don't, please feel free to reach out to me. I'll put my email in the chat, but it's skane@scgov.net. We'll have time for questions and answers at the end, but if you do have a burning question and you want to put it in the chat, feel free. So I'm going to start with just a basic definition of sustainability and how we define sustainability: satisfying our present needs without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their needs. It's really a balancing act in between the people, planet, and prosperity. And the ultimate decision is that point where we're serving the economy of our community, the society, or the people living in our community, and the environment. And our Office of Sustainability was formed in 2002, and we were one of the first counties in the United States to form a sustainability office. And since then, we've been working a lot on all sorts of different projects. We've had a really large focus on energy efficiency and mitigation side of things. And we've also received a lot of grant funding that we are able to utilize for projects. And we just completed a Lead for Cities Gold certification. So first I'm going to start with talking about electric vehicles and why should you go electric. So there's a lot of advantages to it, including economic advantages and environmental advantages. So some of the economic are reducing your maintenance and operating costs. You'll save a lot of money. And you also save money by not having to buy fuel. There is some life cycle savings involved in buying electric vehicles. If you're a business or you work for a business, or maybe you live in an HOA that has charging stations, it can actually attract customers, tourists, and residents. On the environmental side of things, it improves air quality, health, and reduces greenhouse gas emissions. The DOE is the Department of Energy, and they estimate that electric vehicles in Florida produce less than half of the greenhouse gas emissions than gasoline vehicles. Also, air quality is tied to water quality. The air pollution that is in the atmosphere is atmospheric deposition, and that can also affect water quality negatively. And then energy security is another reason. So we like to stay ahead of the curve. EVs are coming, their use is increasing tremendously, and we have a really high count of electric vehicles in our state. According to the DOE, we're number 2. So we really want to make sure that we're staying ahead of the curve and preparing for the infrastructure that's going to be needed. What are some of the environmental benefits of electric vehicles? I like to show this graphic a lot because I often have a lot of questions from people about, well, where does our electricity come from? Is it coming from coal? Is it coming from gas? What does our mix look like here in Florida? And you can see on the left-hand side, the majority of our electricity use right now is actually coming from natural gas, 75%. And our local utility is FPL, Florida Power and Light. They have made commitments to increase their solar by doing Solar Together and community solar programs. But on the picture on the right, you can really see the difference of the annual emissions when you're comparing different types of vehicles. So if you have an all-electric vehicle, you can see that the pounds of carbon dioxide emissions are a lot lower than the plug-in hybrids, the hybrids, and the gasoline vehicles. Your annual emissions go up per vehicle. And often I also get questions about the batteries for electric vehicles. So there are a lot of companies right now working on this innovation of the batteries and recycling them and all of those things. But you really have to look at, when you're looking at the environmental benefits of an electric vehicle and how that compares to a gasoline vehicle, you really need to look at the entire life cycle of the vehicle. So this is a really good graphic from the EPA that shows the difference between a gasoline vehicle on the left and an electric vehicle on the right for the life cycle of it. So if you look at the blue bar right here for the electric vehicle, this is the emissions associated with the battery. And this dark orange bar right here is the rest of the vehicle manufacturing. So extracting materials, vehicle assembly, and end-of-life recycling or disposal. It's a little bit higher in the electric vehicles than in the gas vehicles. And then the gray bar is the upstream emissions associated with producing gas or electricity. And then this yellow bar, that's the key here. This is the tailpipe emissions during vehicle operations. So as you can see, the emissions of 74% for gasoline vehicles is a lot higher. And electric vehicles do not have any tailpipe emissions. So that's the key environmental factor right there. There's different types of electric vehicles that you can purchase. So if you are interested, you don't have to go out after this class and buy an electric vehicle right away, although that would be great if you did. But if you can't, you can also just buy the most efficient vehicle that works for you. And so you can see that the different types of vehicles, there's just the regular gasoline conventional vehicle that just takes gas, that creates a lot of tailpipe emissions. Then you have your hybrid, which is a little bit of gas and battery. And those are like your Prius vehicles and a little bit less emissions there. Then you have your plug-in hybrid, a little bit more battery, a little less gas. And those are Ford C-Max, Chevy Volt, things like those. And then you have your all electric, and that's only using battery. And that's your Nissan Leafs, your Teslas, and vehicles that are only using batteries. And as you can see, there's no tailpipe emissions with those vehicles. So types of electric vehicles and equipment, you cannot, you used to just be able to get a sedan electric vehicle, but now you can get a truck, a SUV. Also golf carts are electric, some of them, and electric bikes, and even electric boats. And when considering getting new lawn equipment, like lawnmowers or blowers or cutters, I would definitely recommend getting electric. Save you on some gas there, reduce emissions, and they're quieter. So just like our cell phones and other sources of technology, electric vehicles are a technology that is also being researched and studied and improved every day. So I love the kind of innovation of it, the emerging technologies. There's a lot of different universities and companies that are testing out different types of batteries and doing research. So there's new promising battery chemistry that will enable batteries to withstand more than 1,000 cycles under fast charging. And there's a team at University of Michigan that is looking at technology and breakthrough and battery tech that will enable electric cars to travel 1,500 miles on a single charge. So basically, just as like our technology gets better for other things, it will get better for batteries and electric vehicle charging as well. We'll start, charging our cars quicker, and the cars will be able to go longer distances, and these charging stations will charge the vehicles a lot quicker. So that's exciting. If you are considering buying an electric vehicle, there's a couple really good websites that you can go to. There's a lot online, but I'm just going to share a couple of them that I have found useful. And so one of them is a vehicle cost calculator, and you can actually look to see what type of vehicle you have now, what type of vehicle you might want to purchase, and you can actually do an economic analysis on it and a cost calculator by saving fuel and other things like that. Another one that is really, really great is this EV consideration guide, EV guide from the Sierra Club. And this is great because it'll allow you to get some choices of a vehicle that might work for you based on your commute and based on your budget and based on the number of seats that you might need and what you're kind of looking for fuel economy, seating, and if you drive long distances or not. So you plug in all your answers to those questions, and you will get a list of different vehicles that might be good for you. So that's a really fun tool that you could check out. But now most people are charging at home. So if you can have your charging at your home to charge your electric vehicle, that is going to be where you're going to be charging the most overnight after you get home from work. There's different types of charging stations. There's level 1s, 2s, and fast charging. So typical station that you might have at your home is going to be that level 1, and you can actually just use a 120 volt from like a washer and dryer outlet. It's going to take a lot longer to charge your car, but you can do that overnight. The charging stations that you typically see out in the community are going to be level 2. Those are a little bit faster and a little bit more expensive. And there's networked and non-networked stations. So the network stations are like the smart stations that have data associated with them, and they have the capability of charging a fee. And then you have the non-network stations that don't have any kind of data associated with them, but they're a lot cheaper. And then you have your fast charging stations that are very, very expensive, but also charge the vehicles really quickly. And here's a picture of kind of what they look like. So this is a typical outlet that you would use in your home. This is what you might see out in the community. This is a non-network station here on the right. And then on the left is a networked station. So this is a smart station, the not smart station. And this is an example of what a level 3 DC fast charger might look like. There are lots of charging stations throughout our community, and I'm sure if you do not live in Sarasota, but you live somewhere else, there's also a lot of charging stations that you can use, especially along the interstates when you're traveling. They're becoming just more and more charging stations available for people out there. And in Sarasota County, if you live in the area, anywhere in the county, we are offering a rebate program right now for electric vehicle charging stations. I'm not sure how long this is going to last. So if you are interested in it, please contact me and I can let you know if it's still available. And some of the details are on our website, but businesses can get up to $2,000 rebate, and nonprofits or other cities in our area can get up to $4,000 rebate for a charging station. We really want them to be at tourist locations, hotels, retail hubs, community centers, very big employers, and we want them to be open to the public. So if you have an electric vehicle and you see an area somewhere in the county that maybe doesn't have enough electric vehicles, let us know and we can see if there's any tourist locations that might be eligible for the rebate. Also, there is a tax credit now, and there was before also, but now you can also get a tax credit for used electric vehicles as well as the new electric vehicles. So up to $7,500 tax credit for new electric vehicles, and then a little bit less for used electric vehicles. And this is part of the Inflation Reduction Act. So now actually commercial vehicles also get a tax credit available, and that includes fleet vehicles and nonprofit and local government vehicles. Now I'm going to transition into solar, another source of clean energy. And when we're considering solar for our homes, we want to make sure that we always do energy efficiency projects first. You want to make sure that your home is the most energy efficient that it can be. So some of the things that you might have to do before you consider solar are, changing out your HVAC system to be more efficient, or if it's older, changing out your windows, making sure your house has insulation, switching out your light bulbs to LED light bulbs, and those types of things. So if you can do that, you're going to save a lot of money in the long run on solar because you'll have a smaller sized solar system. So we always recommend doing the energy efficiency first. You not only are you able to do just solar PV on your roof, but there are also other solar options if you don't want to do solar PV. There's solar hot water heating and solar pool heating. Also, if you're considering solar PV, you also might want to consider a battery backup system. So I'm going to talk a little bit more about that. But if you do have an electric vehicle, it's great to actually charge your electric vehicle from your solar system, and that way you're charging from the sun, and that is the ultimate environmental goal, is to actually do that if you can. And solar PV has just grown significantly. I have a feeling we're going to see this same type of growth with batteries as well. But solar has just gotten better. The technology has gotten better. The prices have gone down. So that's really exciting. And with all the incentives going on right now, it's definitely a good time to get solar. So what are some of the solar benefits? Energy independence, you're charging from the sun, which is free. You have financial savings, of course. You can reduce your bill to a very minimum amount for your FPL bill. And so you'll be saving a lot of money on your utility bills. And our utility bills here in this region have gone up about 30 to 50% over the last few years, and they will probably continue to go up. So you won't have to worry about those fluctuating prices. You'll be saving a lot of money. Of course, their environmental, no pollution benefits are great. And opportunity for distributed power generation, increase your property values for your home. It creates local jobs, and in general requires minimal maintenance and has a long service lifetime with warranties. There are some things that you might want to consider before you do solar. Besides those energy efficiency measures like I was talking about earlier, you also want to make sure that you have a new roof. You don't want to have to have an older roof, put on solar, and then replace your roof right away. You want to make sure that if you're installing solar, that it's going to be on a newer roof. You also want to look at your roof orientation to see how much sunlight would be captured by the solar system. You want to look at your roof space and shape of your roof. You want to look at the shading. Are there any trees that would be covering parts of the solar system? You also want to look at the schedule and warranty of the system. And is it going to be a single metered? And how long do you expect to stay in your home? Because if you plan on selling your home, you know, within a couple years of purchasing the solar system, you might want to consider other options. If you know you're going to stay in your home for a really long time, then it will be a good investment. Some other considerations: look at your annual electricity use and consider future efficiencies so that you don't oversize your system, like I mentioned earlier. Look at your roof size, look at your interconnection tier. How big is your solar system going to be? Because that can affect your insurance. And even if you size the solar system to meet all of your electricity needs in your home, you will still have an interconnection fee, which is about $25 a month. So you don't want to oversize your system. Also, with any big purchase, you want to make sure you select a good contractor. I think everyone has probably experienced this at some point, but there are a lot of companies out there right now that are going door to door trying to sell solar. Don't just go with the first company that comes to your door. Make sure you do your research. Look at their years of experience, the number of local installations they've done. So if they're not a local company and they haven't done any local installations, you might want to consider going with a local company. You also want to make sure that they have a solar contractor's license, and you can go to this website to find out more and check on that license. You also want to look at there's another site for solar PV or heating installer certifications. You want to make sure they're reputable and have good reviews, that they have workers' comp and liability insurance. You want to look at the type of equipment that they're using, and always, no matter what, when you're doing a big purchase like this, always try to get multiple quotes, at least 2 or 3, and ask questions from them. I know there's, I've heard of some companies trying to do a leasing option with the solar. But that might not be the right step for everyone, because you wouldn't own your solar system, so you wouldn't necessarily get all of the money back for your utility bills. So you really have to do the research. There's also a tax credit for solar, is 30%. And with the Inflation Reduction Act, there is now that same direct payment or tax credit available for nonprofit organizations and local government organizations, which is a great thing. And I think it's going to be great to take advantage of that to increase our solar. So now I know a lot of people are also interested in batteries, if that is something that you might want to consider when you get your solar system, because you want to be protected when we have storms, hurricanes, and the power goes out. When the power goes out for a hurricane, as an example, and the grid is shut down, the solar also shuts off. The utilities do this for safety strategies. So if you do want to be powered for your house during a storm and when the power is out, then you do need batteries if you want to power your home through your solar system during outages. So the solar battery backup stores excess energy produced by the solar panel systems to use later. And it's an alternative to a gas generator. They are pretty expensive though, so there's a lot of things that you might want to consider. You want to consider how big they are, how much electric load you might need, for how long, what is your budget, because they can get very expensive and you won't be using it that often, hopefully. So you just want to consider all of those factors before making a big investment like that. Ultimately, though, if you have an electric vehicle and you have a solar system and you're powering your electric vehicle from your solar system and you have that battery backup, that's zero emissions plus resiliency, and that would be the ultimate highest sustainability goal for clean energy. So I know I went through a lot right now, and I talked about clean energy, mostly electric vehicles and solar. There's going to be plenty of time for questions, but there are other things that you can do to live more green and reduce greenhouse gas emissions or air pollution for our communities. And you can do those through all sorts of other different things, and you can get involved. So I talked a little bit about energy and water efficiency improvements. You always want to make sure that you're doing those in your home first before installing solar. And that's just simple things like changing out your light bulb to LEDs, maybe making sure your house is insulated and you don't have any leaks. There's faucet aerators and low flow shower heads and efficient toilets and efficient appliances, efficient HVAC systems. There's all sorts of things that you can do to reduce energy use, which also reduces air pollution. Also, your transportation choices, if you take public transportation, drive a hybrid or electric vehicle like we were talking about today, that really does help reduce emissions and improve air quality. Also, make sure you're reducing, reusing, recycling, and even refusing plastic items. And so there's not a lot of waste going to the landfill. Your landscaping choices are also important, especially here in Florida where we're surrounded by water. If we use a lot of fertilizers and chemicals on our lawns, that's going to run into our waterways. We also have classes on that in our office. If you're interested, we can send you more information about that. Buying local, growing your own food, and eating local is also huge. Supporting green businesses locally, getting involved, getting outside, and thinking about our next generations. Those of you that came in late, Aaliyah from my office is going to email the copy of this presentation out to you all afterwards. If you don't get it, just let us know. But if you signed up for the class on Eventbrite, you can definitely get a copy of this presentation, and there are links to all these resources directly, so you don't have to go searching. Some electric vehicle resources, some more solar resources, and a link to our website for more information, classes, blogs, and events going on. We also post everything on our social media, so if you're interested in that, you can follow us at UF Sarasota EXT on both Facebook. I guess it's not called Twitter anymore, but our social media platforms. We also have Instagram too. And upcoming, so we do have classes on energy efficiency and water efficiency, and those are all free, and we actually distribute free items for those. We do those about once a month, and you get a free energy upgrade kit. So if you're interested in that, we do have those in person as well. We do other classes in person and through webinars, and we have locations throughout the entire county, including at our libraries. And everyone in our office has these classes. So if you're interested in learning more, there's all sorts of different topics that you can learn about. We also have an annual Sustainable Communities Workshop every single year. This year, we're going to have it on November 7th, 2024. It's going to be in the city of Sarasota. So save the date for that. And there's a website for more information. If you are not signed up for our newsletter, definitely check that out. And then also check our social media, because we post updates on there constantly. This is also a really good website to utilize, especially if you live here in the Sarasota Manatee region. We have a Green Living Toolkit website where you can go and learn how to live more sustainably, live green throughout all these different categories. So energy is a lot like what I was talking about today with electric vehicles, solar, and energy efficiency. There's a food section that talks about where you can go to buy local food, grow your own food, those types of things. Waste reduction, so recycling, composting, water resources, so reducing water, improving water quality, nature, getting outside and experiencing our beautiful nature that we have here. One of the great things that I love about it is that events tab on the top right. If you click on that, it gives you a list of different events, classes, workshops that you can go to around the area. So all of our classes are also on this website, as well as many other 50+ organizations in the area that also have things going on or related to these topics. So it's a really great resource. Please check it out. And then as part of University of Florida, we abide by the civil rights policies. Just want to point that out. And then I will leave you with a quote, and then I will stop sharing my screen so that I can take questions from you all. But I just want to leave you with this because it's one of my favorite quotes from Jane Goodall, and I think it's very relevant to what we were talking about today. You cannot get through a single day without having an impact on the world around you. What you do makes a difference, and you have to decide what kind of difference you want to make. I think we all can make a difference, especially in our local communities.